That Jimmy Panetta from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Appreciate your introduction. And thank you, Ranking Member Boyle, as well. Director Young, good to have you back and always good to see you. I thought I was special in that I had a phone call with you as well, which I appreciated until I heard my good friend from Georgia had one too. But that says a lot about not just him, it says a lot about you. The fact that you were willing to reach out to members and you understand how important member engagement is. So thank you very much for your prioritizing member interaction. I appreciate that, as we always have based on my interaction with you. Today, obviously, we want to talk about the administration's budget priorities, but also finalizing administration regulations. Obviously, and I think it's probably a sentiment on both sides of the aisle, we wish we could be fully focused on fiscal year 2025 instead of dealing with fiscal year 2024, 6 months late. I want to first, obviously, say a word that probably only you and maybe one other person in this room and myself will understand, and that's pajaro. And thank you for what you've done to help secure significant amounts of funding, including a recent $38.5 million for emergency repairs to the Pajaro River Flood Risk Management Project. I appreciate that. I also want to applaud the administration for making strong investments in something that's very, very important to my district, and that comes with talk about affordable housing, especially when it comes to tax incentives and, yes, mental health. I want to note that this budget increases the solvency also of Medicare Trust Fund indefinitely, and I believe that we must do the same thing for Social Security by putting forward concrete solutions. Part of that is what I've seen in this committee, in that fiscal responsibility, thanks to the leadership of the chairman and ranking member, that fiscal responsibility is a priority. Now, I, as you heard, and I firmly believe, and as most members of this committee support, the creation of a fiscal commission to draft a plan to get our fiscal house in order, and that hopefully it's one that Congress will take a vote on. Now, I know there's been skepticism about the fiscal commission. Trust me, I've heard it in my district. But if there are other ways to clear the political hurdles needed for deficit reduction, I'm well open to hearing about them. But today I commend you on this budget, which I believe sets a good example for fiscal responsibility. Now, as I've said, in my district, housing is the top issue. And I was pleased to see the first-time homebuyer tax credits in the Green Book, which can help families afford the higher cost of homes in districts like mine. I've introduced legislation with Senators Whitehouse and Heinrich to create a $15,000 tax credit for eligible first-time homebuyers and making it available at the point of sale, which I think is an important aspect of that bill. Director, why is it important to have these types of credits in this budget to encourage home ownership?
Most people, as you know, while they may be able to afford a mortgage, need help with, as anyone who's bought a house knows, the expense needed up front. And these credits allow them during their tax season to get a lot of that money back if this was adopted. So it is a simple matter of, if we want more people to own homes, we need to provide this kind of credit, especially for first-time homeowners who, as we know, people who bought second, third homes get to use their what they made on those homes to help them move into a larger home. First-time homeowners don't have that ability.
Exactly. Thank you. Now, look, I've also introduced legislation that obviously prioritizes LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, but I also want you to be aware of a piece of legislation that I introduced in a bipartisan, bicameral fashion called the Workforce Housing Tax Credit, because you have many people in my district who actually work and can't make too much to afford low-income housing. And so we need the incentives for middle-income housing, and that's why we developed the Workforce Housing Tax Credit. I also want to mention my More Homes on the Market bill, which basically doubles the cap of doubles the exemption for the capital gains on home sales, so we can put more homes on the market and incentivize people to sell their homes that want to protect their nest egg. I want to bring up something real quick. Yesterday, I was speaking to a group who finances low-income housing, and they noted that HUD had proposed regulations to streamline permitting, but they need approval from the OMB. How can OMB play a part in streamlining and reducing HUD housing permitting requirements?
I'm happy to look at that specific rule if it's at OMB. As you know, We often are a place where agency rules and guidance come in to make sure that they are, one, that they have, other agencies have had a chance to look at them, and we have an interagency process, but I'm happy to look at that particular piece and make sure that is on track for release.
Outstanding. Thank you,
Thank
Director.
you.
I think